Hi, in this video, I am going to show you how we save for college for our children. My biggest thing is make sure you start as early as you can. And again, this is how we did it. Ways to save. If you can, set a weekly amount to put in your savings account. For example, if you put about $25 a week, that even can make a difference because if you save $25 a week for 52 weeks per year, you'd have about $1,300. And then if you save them the whole entire time that they're going to school, you would have 28,600 by the time they graduated. And then I also recommend that you are putting it in some type of a mutual fund or a bond because then you're also earning interest on that. So that money can be a lot more. Put any money that the child gets as a gift into their college fund, especially money that they get from their grandparents, aunts, and uncles. I find that if you start this when the kids are really early, they have no idea that they would expect to be getting that money. I did have a couple complaints, but you know what? In the long run, my oldest has now said, "Thank you so much for saving." When they start working, have them put half of their money in their college fund because you know what? They're going to have to learn how to save money as they get older anyways, so have them learn that you can't just spend everything you make. I really recommend the book Money Doesn't Grow on Trees. This is a very small book. It taught me how to teach my kids about money. The thing I liked about this is that you're giving them an allowance. And this book is great because it teaches kids all about money and how to handle money. In it, you will learn how to divide allowance into thirds. You're going to have 3 little containers, and you're going to put whatever amount you decide. I, believe it or not, gave my kids $3 a week allowance from the time they were about 4 years old until they were 18. So they got $3 a week, and $1 went into fund money, $1 went into family activities, and $1 went into college fund. So they had to really think about what they wanted to spend their fund money on because they only got $52 a year. I know it's small, but my kids really learned that they didn't really need that much. But if they want to buy something and they only have $5 and they know they only make $1 a week, they're really going to have to think about, do I really want to spend my money on that? The other dollar went to family activities. For example, when we went to an amusement park, they would help pay for the parking or they would buy themselves a snack. And once that money was gone, they knew it was done. I hardly had ever any begging in stores. Parents complain about that all the time. I rarely had that problem. And then the other dollar went towards their college fund. So they were saving for their college out of their allowance since the day they were probably about 4 years old. So if you give them $2 a week allowance or $3 a week allowance, I'm sorry, if you're giving them $6 a week or $9 a week allowance, then as you can see, you'll even have more money going into each of those funds. I love this book because it just teaches the kids all about money, and they're going to have to learn how to save money in the future, and it really taught them. And they're also going to have to be part of the family finances, helping out with us financially. Once your college child is in college, I recommend, and I want to say that it might not work for everybody, but this is what I did. I applied for financial aid. When I got the financial aid, I did not take all the financial aid. I only took anything that was the free money, which would be any scholarships or grants that they got, which my kids didn't get a lot. And I took all of the subsidized loans. And the reason I took the subsidized loans is because there's a very, very small fee when you take it out, like 0.01 or 1% or something. And then from then on, while they're in school, up until 6 months after they graduate, they don't pay any interest on that money. So it's like getting money for free that you don't have to pay back until 6 months after they graduate. And then what I did was I would take all those, anything free money and all the subsidized loans, and then whatever was left over, I wrote a check for everything else in cash because I had some money in the bank that I could do that with. I kept on saving while my kids were in college. I had the kids working during summer, and then they would have to pay part of their schooling too as time went on. I found that if we were able to keep our money in the bank and keep saving the money, that then we ended up having enough of that cash to pay all the cash part out All the money that we saved we were able to then pay whatever we owed every semester, except for the subsidized loans. We kept that money. We were borrowing that money. Right now, my son is a senior in college. We started with about $33,000 invested in mutual funds and bonds. We changed the investments to a lower risk once he was a junior in college, but you might feel comfortable doing that when they're a sophomore, because I just didn't want to be where there was a big drop in the market and all of a sudden I had no funds for my child to go to school. We took all of the subsidized loans, and right now we owe about $17,000 in loans. And this is after paying for the first semester of his senior year. He has about $17,800 in his mutual fund still. And I think once he gets done with his last semester of school, he's going to owe about $19,000. But once we pay off all of those loans, we'll probably have just about like $1,200 that we have to pay back. But we have 6 months to do that. So I'm sure that we can come up with another $1,000 within the 6 months. Just to understand better what his school is like, his schooling was about $15,000 a year, which includes most of the books, tuition, housing, and food. So that'd be about $60,000 over the lifetime of going to school, minus the $33,000 that we had, which would be about $27,000. So you can see we didn't have everything. He got about $3,000 in scholarships and grants, state grants, which dropped it then to about $24,000 that we owed over the 4 years. I saved about $3,000 per year, so that was about $12,000. So we took that off of the $24,000. So now he's down to $12,000. And my son earned about $5,000 to $4,000 during the 3 summers that he worked. He worked the summer before his sophomore, junior, and senior year. He did work a little bit his freshman year, but it wasn't as big of a job. He also had to buy a car, which we chose a very economical car. We got a Toyota Camry, which is very reliable. He paid about $1,800 for that, and then he put about $1,500 into it, which was like tires and a new battery, and then just little incidentals. That was so that he could get back and forth to work. And that's how we did it. Now we are on our second child. He just started this fall. One thing to remember is that you are getting about a $2,500 credit every year on your taxes if you make less than $180,000 per year. And I think it goes down a little bit if you're making over $150,000 or $130,000. I should know this because I do taxes too. But just remember that even if you're saying to yourself, oh, my kid's on my own, and they're not making more than $10,000 or $20,000 a year while they're going to school, you make sure that you claim them as a dependent because you can probably get back the $2,500, but if they claim themselves, just because they aren't making that much money, they'll probably only get $1,000 of it. So even if you gave them $1,000 of that dollars and applied it to their schooling or any of their expenses, you'd still be making $1,500 off of that credit. So just remember that, because that can also be going towards your schooling. It's really a nice credit. It's like getting $10,000 that the federal government is giving you because it's a tax credit. It comes right off your taxes. So that's it. Thanks for listening.